So retirement is up on your horizon, and aside from tax, aside from making sure that you have enough money to live comfortably, enough to pay the water and the electricity and all those bills, what about having some fun? How do you ensure that you've got enough money to plan the holidays, enough money to get the new vehicle that you're looking for, enough money to ensure that you're able to complete your home renovation, or perhaps just enough money to ensure that you are out of debt? Now, it might seem like the bridge is extremely long. You're on this end, and how do you ensure that you take yourself to the other end? Well, I'm going to be guiding you on exactly what you need to do in this video. I'm going to take you step by step into how do you ensure that you're able to live out those retirement dreams that you have. Now, if you're watching this video series from the start, you should be feeling a lot more confident now about your retirement, especially if you've been putting into practice some of the things that I've shared with you. If this is the first video that you're watching in the series, then I'm glad that you are here. So use this as a starting point, but I do encourage you to watch the other videos so that you can get all of this in the right context. Now, I've had so much of fun putting together the content here. I can't wait to share this with you. I'm going to be guiding you on 5 secret tips that I use for my clients when I'm planning their retirement. Now, I'm Devin Naika, and I help people live the best life possible with the money that they have. I get them to a point of financial confidence, which is a point where you want to enjoy life without this fear that you're going to run out of money. Now, let's get started. The first thing that I want to share with you is just some perspective about what money I'm talking about when I'm referring to a cash lump sum. So there's a pool of money that you have access to right now, and you could have a pension fund, a provident fund, or a retirement annuity, or even a combination of these. In my example, I'm going to say that the capital you have is 6 million. What am I referring to in this video? I'm going to be talking to you about the 1/3 portion that is available, right? Now, we know it's up to 1/3 that you could access as a cash lump sum. So I'll put this as a cash amount here. I'm going to be referring to that. Now, this is a key step in your planning simply because you want to make this element be 100% perfect. You want to get to what I call the optimum amount, right? If you end up taking too less, so let's just assume you take a lower amount, so less than the 1/3, it's okay. And you might do that because you want a higher amount to be invested here, right? So this 2/3 component becomes more. That's okay. But what I need you to be aware of is if you take less here, in the future on this side, you can't really go and take another lump sum. It's not allowed, see? Because this side is designed to provide you with an income. So on this end, when it's invested, you are able to get an income. But you can't collect that income and take another lump sum. And you don't want to make this mistake right at the beginning of your retirement planning. So this is why it's critically important to make sure you're doing what you're doing now, which is getting the right framework together. Now, assuming you do take the 1/3 and you make a mistake, it's too much, then suddenly you could end up with having to pay a lot more tax than what you planned for. You could end up with having a lot of money in the bank, which can be a good thing, but on the other end, you've got to factor the interest that you're earning. That's also taxable. What happens when you're not around? So this could complicate things significantly. So let's go on those 5 secrets that I want to share with you now that you know everything is related to the 1/3 capital. The first secret I want to share with you is I want you to know what it is that you want. So know what you want. And that could be anything, right? It could be perhaps that you want to settle debt. It could be that you want to keep money aside for holidays. It could be that perhaps you want to get a new vehicle. It could be that you want to donate some of this money to family or friends or an organization. It could be anything. See, anything that you want. But you want to be very clear. You want to be specific on exactly what it is that you're looking for here. And why I'm sharing this with you is often when retirees come to retirement, it becomes overwhelming. There's so many things that's happening, and you might be feeling this way right now. There's so many things taking place. It's hard to be clear on where you're headed. Now, if you can do this planning ahead of time, if you get to know exactly what you want, and if you take this a step further and you put a rand amount next to each one, now you start off getting some kind of perspective. So you have an idea. This is how much you need to settle debt. This is how much you're keeping aside for holidays. This is how much you need for the car. This is how much you need for donations. So anything that you want to have, once you know these are your amounts, you can then create a total here. Now, I know you might be concerned about inflation and all of that, but this is just giving you some perspective, right? So you put some type of figures together. I'm going to use examples here, right? Let's say your debt is 200,000. And we'll say for holidays, you want to keep aside 300,000. And then for your car, you also want to keep aside 300,000. For donations, you want to do 100,000. You might not do all of these. And let's say under other, you have 100,000. So again, I'm just using an example, right? So adding up this total, you have 900,000. So now two things are going to happen. One, you have sort of a very clear or very good idea as to the amount of money that you need, right? So using my example here, the two-thirds or the one-third aspect works out to 2 million rand. And because you know that you just need 900,000 in my example, it means you can afford to take less. Maybe you might take 1 million. See, you might take a higher amount so that you have some extra money to use for some of the other secrets I want to share. But now you've got something in your mind, you see. You're not going to get this is second thing. You're not going to get to retirement and then think about what you have to do. You already know when you get to retirement, this is what you've committed to. And you can just start to act on it, right? You don't have to think, you just know that you have this pool of money, this is exactly where it's going to. So that's the first secret I want to share with you, which is know what you want. The second secret, and I covered this extensively in the previous two videos, you want to make sure that you're keeping that tax to an absolute bare minimum. Now, a quick recap for you. I won't go into a lot of the specifics. You can cover this in the previous two videos. This lump sum of money, SARS has a special way of taxing you. So it doesn't work according to the normal tax tables that we have when we're earning an income. There's a special tax table that SARS uses when they're determining the tax for that. You want to make sure that you're aware of that so you can keep the taxes to an absolute minimum. The less tax you pay, the more money that you have for yourself. And again, the longer that this money can actually last you. Tax planning must be done in advance. So let's assume this is where you are right now. And I'll say this is X, which is where you want to retire. This is your opportunity period. This is the time for you to make sure that you are getting your planning in place. So again, you can keep the taxes to an absolute bare minimum. If you end up paying tax, and you need to stress this point, if you don't do this tax planning correctly, and SARS issues what they call a tax directive. So the moment SARS issues this directive, this money is gone. You are not going to recover it. SARS will not reverse that. They will take whatever is due to them, pay the balance to you in your bank account. You're never going to see it. So it's critically important that you get this tax planning done early to ensure that you're keeping that to an absolute bare minimum. And I shared secrets in the previous two videos on how you can do that. Now, the next secret here is creating dream buckets. So you've got dreams, you've got your bucket list, but have you now created the pockets of money that's needed in order to ensure that they can be fulfilled? Now, here's the secret. You might want to do these things, right? So let's say you want to do your holidays, you want to do your cars, and perhaps donations, right? These are things that you have in mind. You're not really going to do all of them at one go. So, for example, let's say if we're just looking at holidays, you might do one in your first year, right? One in your first year. You might have another holiday that's planned for your third year. And you might have another holiday that's planned for your fifth year. So I'm using examples here. So what are the dream buckets I'm referring to? This amount of money, because you know you need it in the next 12 months, that can be kept in a place that's easy for you to access that money. Your 3-year investment or your money that you don't need right now, you're planning the holiday in 3 years' time, you can look at some kind of vehicle that you can keep that money in that's going to give you nice, steady growth, but that you can access in 3 years' time. See? And this is something you want to access in 5 years' time. Now, by setting these dream buckets, it means you're not going to be concerned about your short term because you have the money for it. You can invest in something that gives you a bit higher interest here because you have 3 years to invest. You can invest in something that gives you even higher interest because now you've got 5 years. So you're not taking your entire pool of money and dumping it into one place. You're creating the dream bucket so you know this pool of money is for that, this pool of money is for that, and this is for that. You can even call it the name. So if you are aiming to go to Thailand, for example, you can call it, this is your Thailand saving. So you know this is how you're making it a reality, but also so that you know it's not just a dream that you want to go to a specific destination or to purchase a specific vehicle. You know that you've got the money kept aside for it. It's just that you're not doing it right now. You're doing it at that time that you really want to. Now, secret 4 is the power of an emergency fund. I can't tell you how amazingly powerful this particular technique is. And let's just go with the basics. An emergency fund is basically you having 3 to 6 months of, I'll say, expenses. So whatever your monthly expenses work out to, kept aside in some kind of vehicle that's easy for you to access. It could be a bank account, right? Because it's easy to access that. I'm going to use an example. Let's say your expenses work out to 20,000 rands a month. If you're doing the emergency fund for, let's say, 6 months, it means you have to keep aside 120,000. Now, why this is key is it gives you complete peace of mind. You're going to be able to sleep a lot better at night, knowing if something takes place, if there's a market crash, if something happens, you suddenly have some kind of emergency popping up, the fridge packs up, the microwave, or whatever it is, you have liquid assets, liquid capital that you can get to, right? And this is enough to cover you for 3 to 6 months. So this is extremely, extremely powerful because it just, again, gives you the flexibility, right? It allows you to act knowing that you have that money kept aside. Remember, this is an emergency fund. It's not a spending fund. So you're not just going to go and spend this money shopping. You want to use it for when emergencies come up, right? And that will definitely allow you to rest a lot more comfortably knowing that you have it, right? It also then means that you have the freedom to spend this money here. You don't have to be concerned because now you have this pool of money kept aside. Now, the 5th secret that I want to share with you is creating an emergency fund, but this time we're doing it for medical purposes. And the reason I'm saying this is sometimes I've noticed that retirees end up having some kind of medical condition. Let's say it's a heart attack. The medical aid stalls with the payment. It takes a while before they pay, or gap cover doesn't pay immediately, or the medical aid requires you to put some kind of deposit down, or the doctor suddenly is not billing according to medical aid rates and requires you to put a deposit. Now, if you have some kind of medical savings fund kept aside, this allows you to ensure that you have that money to pay upfront, and you don't have to have this concern that someone's going to be knocking on your door asking you for money. Even if you're going to recover this from gap cover at a later stage, you know that you can do it, but it just buys you time. It gives you access to that straight away. Now, for this, you can choose the amount that you want to have. Sometimes medical expenses might be high, but again, if you're dealing with doctors, they might have somewhat of a preferential rate in the beginning because you just want to get some kind of security. So you can choose. It can be an amount that you feel is meaningful and also based on your medical circumstances. Great. So now you know 5 key secrets that you can use to planning your retirement to ensure that the money that you have is not just used wisely, but used in a way that's going to make this retirement fulfilling. Now, I want to hear from you from these 5 techniques, which of these secrets you found to be the most appealing. And if you have found something else that could be part of this, another secret or another technique, I want you to post it in the comment below because other retirees that are part of the community can then take full advantage of it. Now, if you've not already done so, a reminder to subscribe to the channel so that you get to see the videos as soon as we put them out. And I look forward to connecting you with the next video in the series. You are going to absolutely love it.